images on the screen? Well, in the first image, what are the different features that you can identify? We can see the beautiful mountains, the mesmerizing river, and the valley in between these mountains. On the other hand, that is on the second image, we can see the tall buildings, a busy street, vehicles, and many other things that form characteristics of an urban area. Now, the features on each of these images can be broadly classified under two broad headings. So, the two broad headings under which these features can be categorized or identified are natural features that appear naturally on the Earth's surface and the man-made features or the artificial features that has been created by man. So in the first picture where we saw mountains, river and the valley in between the mountains are natural features that appear naturally or exist naturally on the Earth's surface. However, in the second image we can see tall buildings, vehicles, the road and many other things that come under the definition or characteristic of an urban area. So these can be identified as man-made features. So we have natural features and man-made features that appear on the Earth's surface. Now both these features can be brought together under a single umbrella. So it is the topography under which both the natural and man-made features can be included. So how do we define topography? Well, topography describes the physical features of an area of land. So topography mainly refers to the natural formations like mountains, valleys and rivers that appear naturally on the Earth's surface. However, other physical features like the man-made features like bridges, roads, buildings, etc. that are created by man may also be included within a topography of any area. So here we have an image that shows us the physical features of a particular area. That includes the mountains, the rivers, the lakes and also the plains. However, the topography as we just described also includes man-made features like the bridges and the buildings. So this is what is known as topography of any area. Now to make a study of a particular area of land or a particular part of Earth, we need maps. Now maps make it very easy for us to carry on with our study or research of any particular area. These maps have a special name and they also have a special purpose. So these maps that help us understand the topography of any area are known as topographical maps. So what exactly are topographical maps? Well, topographical maps are accurate graphical representations of physical features. These physical features mainly includes the natural formations. However, it also includes the man-made features. So, topographical maps are accurate and detailed graphical representation of physical features that appear on the Earth's surface. And these include both natural and man-made features. So, here we have an image or a sample of a topographical map. So on this image here we can see that the map is majorly colored in yellow while some parts are also colored in green. All these colors define certain features or characteristics of the area in study. So this yellow wash tells us that the land can be cultivated and is fertile in nature. However, the green wash here tells us that the area is forested. We also have some blue colored region that tells us or shows us the presence of a water body here. For example, a pond or a lake. So these are the natural features that are present in the area of study. However, some man-made features that also can be identified on topographical maps are the red color blocks here. So what exactly are the red color blocks? These blocks here shows us settlements, right? It shows us the presence of human population Besides these settlements, we also have metal roads and canals that are part of man-made features. So topographical maps are accurate graphical representation of physical features, including both natural as well as man-made features. Now the topographical maps, as I told, graphically represents all the physical features that appear on the Earth's surface. Now these physical features can be broadly categorized under 4 headings. So what are these features? We have cultural features showing roads, buildings and administrative boundaries. Besides that, we also have hydrography, which shows us lakes, rivers, swamps and coastal plains. Then we have relief features. Relief features mostly includes mountains, valleys, depressions, cliffs. And finally, we have vegetation that shows us the presence of wooded and cleared areas, vineyards, orchards, or any other form of vegetation that may be present in the particular area. So out of all these features, can you help me identify some of them on this map? Well, we have a forested area here. So the green wash here shows us the presence of wooded area or forested area that is present in this particular area of study. Besides that, we also have a blue lining going through. This tells us the presence of rivers. Rivers, as we understood, are a part of hydrography or hydrographical features. So the features that are represented in a topographical map can be broadly categorized under these 4 headings. Now, topographical maps can also be known as topo sheets, which helps us with the identification of topographic features present in any particular area of land. Now, these topo sheets are drawn on the basis of dated surveys. Now, what exactly do we mean by dated surveys? Well, it only means that they help us identify the physical features that appear on a particular area of land at a particular period of time. So, if we are referring to a topo sheet of 2019 and make a survey of that in 2021, then that survey or that study would be either incomplete or incorrect. This is only because the topography of a particular area keeps changing or keeps getting modified over time. For example, from 2019 to 21, there has been an increase in the number of settlements in that particular area that was brought into study. Or there has been a construction of new railway through that area. So there are addition of physical features on that particular area of study. So if we don't refer to the latest map, then we won't be able to make an accurate study or an accurate research. So these topo sheets are based on dated surveys, and we need to be very careful with regard to the study of these topo sheets. Now, all these topo sheets are drawn to a particular scale. In our previous lesson, if you remember, we learnt about the significance of scales and how they are used in maps to help us study a particular area. Scales are a representation of the real world and the area in units on the maps, right? Now, these scales are of 3 types and each of them have a particular purpose. They make the studying of a particular area very easy. Now, these scales are also standard in nature. There are certain scales that has been set by the Geological Survey of India. That is the head of geological department, which sets scales and standards for the drawing and creation of these topo sheets or topographical maps. So, the Geological Survey of India is one of the largest intenders of topo sheets, which are drawn on scales, most particularly 1:250,000 and 1:50,000, which only means that 1 centimeter on the map will be equal to 2,50,000 centimeter on the real ground. And for the other scale, it means that 1 centimeter on the map will be equal to 50,000 centimeter on the real ground. So these are some of the standard scales set by one of the largest intenders of topo sheets in India, that is the Geological Survey of India. So where exactly do we find these scales on the topographical maps or the topo sheets? Well, these scales are usually given at the bottom of the topo sheets. So they are usually present on the left hand side or right hand side of the topo sheet. So for this topo sheet, the scale has been given in the right bottom corner of the topo sheet, and this scale is 1:50,000. So now that we have learned so much about the topographical maps and have seen how there are different features on the topographical maps, can you tell me how exactly can we use these topographical maps to identify the features present in them? Well, there are certain features in the topographical map itself that help us locate the different physical features and man-made features present in the topo sheet or topographical maps. So let's see what are these features. So on the topographical maps or topo sheets, we have these red lines called the grid lines. Now what are these grid lines? Well, grid lines are small squares formed by the intersection of vertically and horizontally moving lines across the map. So we have these red lines that move horizontally and vertically across the topographical maps, and these make small red squares, right? So these grid lines are small squares that are formed by the intersection of lines that move horizontally and vertically across the map. So these horizontally moving lines and these vertically moving lines make up the grid lines that can be identified on the topographical maps. Now let's see how these grid lines help us locate places or locate features in the topo sheets. Now before we move on with our lesson, could you help me fill in the blanks? Well, small squares drawn by the intersection of lines that move horizontally and vertically across the map are known as contour lines or grid lines or settlements. Well, the correct answer is they are known as grid lines. So the vertical and horizontal lines that move across the map and they intersect to form grid lines on the topographical maps help us locate places. And these have a special name. So the horizontal lines are known as Northings. And the value of these horizontal lines keep increasing as they move from south to north. So the Northings are horizontal lines whose numerical value increases from south to north. So here the horizontal lines or Northings are 27, 28, 29, 30. So we see that the value of these horizontal lines keep increasing as we move from south to north. However, another line that we can find on the map here is the vertical line. So the vertical lines that are present or they intersect the horizontal lines on the topographical maps are called eastings. And the numerical value of these vertical lines keep increasing as they move from west to east. So on this particular image here, we can see that the value of the vertical lines keep increasing from west to east. That is 40, 41, 42 and 43. So these are known as eastings whose numerical value increases from west to east. Now that we know that these Northings and eastings intersect each other to form grid lines on the topographical maps, how exactly can we use them to locate features on the topo sheet? So we can do that with the help of grid reference. Now what is grid reference? Well, grid reference is generally used to study a particular unit or cell of any given geographical area. Say for example, we have to study a particular area of a region, and we do that with the help of topographical map. Now in that map we want to locate a particular settlement or a particular natural formation that is present on that area. So how do we do that? For that we will require the grid reference. So the northings and eastings will help us find the grid reference that will then help us locate that particular feature. So how do we find the grid reference of an area? So the northings and eastings that intersect to form grid lines, they make small squares, and these small squares are usually referred to as a unit or a cell in a topographical map. So here we can see that one of the cells is colored, and that is where we need to identify the location of that feature. So we can do that with the help of northings and eastings. So the grid reference of this particular cell or this particular unit can be identified by first referring to the easting. So the eastings are the vertical lines that move from west to east. So for this particular area, the easting is 41. So we can see that the vertical line that first comes in contact with the particular cell is 41. Now it's time to take a look at the northings, that is the horizontal line that moves from south to north. So what is the horizontal line that first comes in contact with the area? That is 28. So 28 and 41 will together make up the grid reference of that particular cell. So whenever we write the grid reference of a particular cell, we first write the eastings and then the northings. So for this particular area, the grid reference would be 4, 1, 2, 8. So in this particular image, if I tell you to identify the cell with the grid reference of 4128, you will immediately come to this particular cell. So the vertical line from the west that first comes in contact with the cell is 40. So 40 comes in contact with all these cells first when it comes from the west. However, to identify the particular cell we are talking about, we would need the help of the northings or the horizontal line. So the horizontal line that from the south first comes in contact with the cell is 27. So 27 is the horizontal line that comes first in contact with all these cells here when we move from south to north. So 40 from here and 27 from here would help us to identify that particular cell, and that cell or unit is this. So this is what we were referring to. So 40 and 27 is the grid reference of this particular cell. So this is how we use northings and eastings to find out the grid reference of a particular cell, and then we can easily locate any feature that appears or is present in the topo sheet. So now that we are very clear about how exactly can we locate features in a topo sheet or topographical maps, let us do that on a real topographical map or a topo sheet. So here we have a section of a particular topographical map or a topo sheet, and we have to locate a place known as Antroli. So where exactly do we find Antroli? For that we need to find the grid reference of the cell in which Antroli is present. And how do we find the grid reference? We will refer to the eastings and northings. So the easting or the vertical line that first comes in contact from the west to Antroli is 94. So we can see how 94 comes in contact with Antroli first when we move from west to east. Now the other thing that we need to identify is the northings. Northings, as we know, are the horizontal lines. So the horizontal line that first comes in contact on moving from south to north is 76. So what exactly would be the grid reference of Antroli? So the grid reference of Anthroli, as per what we have learnt a while ago, would be 9476. 9476 would be the grid reference of Anthroli. So if I would have given you this particular section of a topographical map and had asked you to name a settlement that is present in the grid reference of 9476, you would have immediately and easily found out that Anthroli is the particular settlement that I have asked you to locate. So this is how we can locate different features present in a topo sheet or a topographical map. So in this lesson, we were able to understand the meaning of topographical maps and saw how we can use these topographical maps to locate places or locate physical features in a particular area. We also understood that we can locate these places with the help of northings and eastings and find out the grid reference of these places. We further learned that these topo sheets are based on dated surveys, and the Geological Survey of India is one of the largest intenders of topo sheet, which sets standard scales that are used by people or geographers or people who are interested in topographical maps or the study of these across India. In our next lesson, we'll take a look at how contour lines play a very important role as an element of a topographical map. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. You can also register for free at DeltaStep.com or download the DeltaStep app to learn one-to-one with our amazing teachers or to get access to all our 5,000 plus amazing videos as per your school syllabus. Master each topic with our adaptive practice technology. Get million plus questions with step-by-step solutions and unlimited mock test. Get all your doubts resolved instantly. Learn via games and win amazing prizes like PlayStations and iPads. So at DeltaStep, learning is not just fun and easy, it is rewarding too. So register for free now.